The patrol frigate called Serenity Ridge moved quietly through the dark space near the Kethar expanse. It was a simple mission. The crew only needed to map an unexplored region and update the star charts. Nothing about the assignment sounded dangerous. Some crew members even joked that the mission would be boring. But no one truly understood how quickly a single moment could change everything. No one understood that one small action could start a chain of events powerful enough to shake the entire galaxy. Lieutenant Commander Alex Harper sat in the command chair, studying the screen that showed the empty darkness ahead. He was calm, steady, and known for making careful decisions. He had been in space for a long time, serving on many ships. But something about the silence in this region felt different to him. It was not just the normal quiet of deep space. It felt like the dark was holding its breath. Laura Kent, the sensor specialist, was at her station near the front. She was focused and sharp, with a habit of biting her lip when she studied strange readings. She watched the sensor lines dance softly across her panel. At first, there was nothing unusual. But then, she noticed quick flashes of radiation, almost like small sparks hiding behind the empty signal. She frowned slightly and leaned forward. She checked the readings again. "Alex," she said quietly, "there's something strange ahead. I'm not sure what it is. The signals keep shifting." Alex did not like the sound of that. But he responded calmly. "Is it natural or artificial?" Laura shook her head. "I don't know. The energy pattern looks old. Very old. Maybe thousands of years." Alex nodded and ordered the ship to slow down. The engines hummed softly as the Serenity Ridge reduced speed. He wanted to understand what they were approaching before moving any closer. Space was full of old ruins, lost stations, and strange relics. Many of those relics were harmless, but a few were dangerous enough to destroy entire fleets. For several minutes, the crew worked in quiet focus. Laura continued scanning. Alex studied the screens. The others watched their equipment, in case something changed. Slowly, an image formed on the display. It was a large, ring-like structure floating in the middle of nowhere, covered in dust and broken metal. It looked like an ancient chamber or vault, made by a civilization long gone. Nobody on the ship recognized it. Alex leaned back slightly. "What is that?" he whispered. Laura spoke without looking away from her station. "It isn't broadcasting anything. No code, no warnings. It's just there." Alex knew the rules. When a patrol ship discovered a new structure, they scanned it. It was standard procedure. They had done it hundreds of times before. So he gave the usual order. "Begin light scanning. We only need a basic reading." Laura tapped her controls gently. A soft scan pulse left the Serenity Ridge. It traveled through the empty dark like a quiet ripple in still water. None of them had any fear. None of them expected anything unusual to happen. But far away, on a nearby alien research vessel, something else detected the human scan. It belonged to the WarZone Syndicate, one of the strictest and most suspicious powers in the galaxy. Their commander, Varric Solon, watched the scan hit the ancient vault. His eyes widened with anger. To him, humans had just done something very dangerous. To him, they had just interfered with a forbidden relic that the WarZone believed should never be touched. "Humans," Varric muttered. "They have no idea what they have awakened." One of his officers turned to him. "Commander, should we warn them?" Varric shook his head. His voice was cold and sharp. "No. They must face the consequences. We send a threat declaration." He believed the relic held something terrible. His fear and anger convinced him that the humans had done it on purpose. His order went out across the space between the ships, and soon the Serenity Ridge received a transmission full of hostility and accusations. Alex looked up as the message began playing, confused but alert. The voice of Varric Solon filled the bridge. "This is the WarZone Syndicate. You have violated a restricted zone and awakened the old ones. Your species has committed an act of aggression. Prepare to be judged." Alex's eyes narrowed. He had never heard of the old ones. Humans were explorers, not criminals. He did not understand why the Voruan thought humanity had done something wrong. Laura looked frightened. Alex, we didn't awaken anything. We only used a basic scan. I know, Alex said quietly. We need to explain ourselves. Alex sent a reply saying it was a mistake, not an attack. He told them the scan was routine. He told them humanity had no knowledge of the relic. But the Voruan refused to listen. They fired warning bursts near the Serenity Ridge. Bright flashes of energy meant to intimidate, but not destroy. Alex stayed calm, but he was concerned. Every threat made the situation worse. Every misunderstanding twisted the truth further away from reality. While the two ships argued, the ancient relic began to react to the scan pulse. The vault stirred. The air around it shimmered with faint blue light. Something deep inside began to move, as if waking from a long sleep. Laura stared at her screen. Alex, the structure is changing. Alex leaned forward. What do you mean? It's opening. A long crack spread across the surface of the vault. Dust and broken pieces drifted away into space. Strange lights flashed from inside. For a moment, everything was silent again. It was the kind of silence that made the hairs on the back of the neck rise. Then the screaming began. It was not a human scream or an alien scream. It was a piercing, echoing sound that came from the relic itself. It spread across the region. It was full of rage, hunger, and awakening strength. Everyone on the Serenity Ridge froze, listening to the horrifying noise. The vault split completely open. A creature flew out first. It was tall, thin, and covered in dark organic armor that looked almost like metal. Its eyes glowed with pale energy. More creatures followed it, each more frightening than the last. They looked like a mix of insects, machines, and nightmares. Their bodies were a combination of living tissue and engineered power. Laura whispered, barely able to speak. Alex, what are those things? Alex could not answer. Across dozens of star systems, the scream transformed into a message. It repeated again and again, reaching every listening device in the region. Designation: humanity. Threat level: pending eradication. Laura covered her mouth. Why are they talking about us? Alex felt a chill spread through his body. He understood immediately. The scan from the Serenity Ridge had been the trigger. It had awakened the creatures from their long sleep. Now the creatures believed humanity was the reason they had been disturbed. They saw humans as enemies. The Voruan commander, Varek Solon, heard the message too. Instead of helping, he pointed at the humans. They are the cause, he said to his crew. They have awakened the Ashborn. The galaxy will blame them. The name Ashborn was not familiar to humans, but the Voruan knew it well. In ancient times, the Ashborn had been a biological weapon. They had been so powerful and dangerous that the galaxy had tried to erase all records of them. They had been sealed away with the hope that no one would ever find them again. But now they were back. And the first thing they saw was a human scan. The Ashborn moved silently but quickly. Their bodies adapted to the environment around them. They formed new armor plates, new claws, new weapons as they flew through space. It was as if they were rebuilding themselves, preparing for war. Their queen intelligence, hidden deep within the relic, awakened slowly. When her eyes opened, she saw her children returning to life. She sensed the humans through the scan pulse. She saw the ship. She saw the species, and she placed a simple label on them. Target. The Serenity Ridge's crew watched in tense fear. Alex ordered the ship to back away. The engines hummed loudly, pushing them away from the ancient vault. But the Ashborn noticed the movement and turned toward them. Laura's voice was shaking. They're locking onto us. Alex kept his voice steady. We need to run. We can't fight them. Not here. The ship began to accelerate, but the Ashborn shot forward faster than expected. Their bodies formed sharp lines as they flew. They looked like streams of dark lightning cutting through the vacuum. Just as they reached the Serenity Ridge, a sudden burst of energy slammed into them from the side. A Voruan ship had fired at the Ashborn, trying to slow them. The attack did little damage, but it distracted the creatures long enough for Alex to jump the Serenity Ridge into faster-than-light travel. The ship escaped, but the galaxy did not. The Ashborn spread outward in all directions. They sent scouts to nearby systems. They examined old ruins, ships, stations, and planets. Everywhere they traveled, they gathered information. They consumed everything they touched. They learned fast, adapting their bodies and weapons after every new discovery. Within hours, hundreds of star systems detected the awakening. Within days, frightened governments began pointing fingers. Humanity started this. They awakened the weapons. They caused the threat. The truth was simple. It had been an accident, a simple scan, a harmless action. But fear did not care about truth, and panic did not wait for explanations. Humanity had been blamed, and the Ashborn had marked humanity as their first enemy. On the Serenity Ridge, Alex sat quietly in his chair. The crew was shaken, scared, and confused. Laura sat beside her panel, staring at the last recordings of the Ashborn. "What have we done?" she whispered. Alex looked at the dark screen where the relic had once been. His voice was low, tired, and heavy with worry. "We didn't do anything wrong, but the galaxy won't care. And those creatures, they're coming." No one on the bridge spoke after that. Everyone understood that the moment the Ashborn awakened, everything changed. The galaxy would never be the same again. And whether humanity wanted it or not, they had become the center of a storm far bigger than themselves. The war had not started yet, but the first spark had already been lit. And far away, the Ashborn Queen whispered to her children as they spread across the stars, "Prepare. The humans must be erased." The news of the Ashborn awakening spread across human space faster than anyone expected. Every station, every colony, and every fleet heard the same frightening message that echoed from the ancient vault. People played the recording again and again, trying to understand how something so old and so dangerous could suddenly return. Most humans had never even heard the name Ashborn before. Now it had become the center of every conversation and every fear. Command centers across the United Terran Fleet scrambled to understand what had happened. They reviewed the scans, the messages, and the strange signals that came from the relic. They questioned the crew of the Serenity Ridge. They discussed the growing tension with the Vorun, who insisted that humanity was responsible for waking the creatures. Inside one large command hall, Captain Daniel Cross stood at the front, listening to the latest reports. He was calm, focused, and known for never losing control in a crisis. He had fought in difficult battles before, but even he had never seen anything like the Ashborn. Behind him, officers moved quickly from station to station, exchanging information with worried faces. Daniel studied the holographic map of the region. He watched the red marks spread outward from the vault location. Each red point showed an Ashborn sighting or an attack. The creatures were not moving randomly. They were spreading with purpose, as if following a silent order from something powerful. An officer hurried toward him. "Captain, the Vorun Syndicate just lost another border outpost. They say hundreds of Ashborn were involved." Daniel nodded slowly. "Any survivors?" "Very few. The Ashborn destroyed their defenses in minutes. And Captain, the creatures adapted to the Vorun weapons almost instantly." Daniel frowned. He did not like that detail. Adaptation was dangerous. Adaptation meant every battle would be harder than the last. Humans were used to enemies who struggled to keep up, but the Ashborn seemed to learn faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Another officer joined them, breathing heavily from rushing. "Captain, we received a distress call from the Juno colony. They say something is scanning their atmosphere. They think the Ashborn are watching them." Daniel crossed his arms. "Are they attacking yet?" "No, sir. Just observing." Daniel's expression tightened. Observation was almost worse. It meant the Ashborn were planning. They were learning about humans before launching anything. He turned toward his left. "Bring Lieutenant Commander Alex Harper and Sensor Specialist Laura Kent to the main hall." Now. Minutes later, Alex and Laura walked into the room. Both looked tired and shaken from their encounter on the Serenity Ridge, but ready to help. Laura held a small device containing her recordings of the Ashborn awakening. Daniel looked at them carefully. I need everything you know. Every detail. No matter how small it seems. Alex nodded and stepped forward. Captain, it wasn't intentional. We didn't know the relic was there. We didn't know our scan would affect anything. I'm not here to blame you, Daniel said. I need information. I need information. Laura placed her device on the table. Captain, the relic didn't open until it received the scan. But I don't think the scan actually woke the Ashborn. 8. Daniel raised his eyebrows. Explain. Laura pointed at the data. Look at this. The energy inside the relic was rising before our scan hit it. It was already waking up. The scan just sped up the process. Daniel studied the numbers. So they were going to wake up anyway. Yes, Laura said. It wasn't our fault. But the Vorun won't believe that. They don't have to believe it, Daniel replied. We just have to prepare. Alex looked at the spreading red markers on the map. Captain, they targeted us in their first message. Why us? Why humans? Daniel tapped the screen. Because your ship sent the last signal to touch the vault before it opened. That is enough for the Ashborn to blame humanity. Laura swallowed hard. So to them, we're enemies already. Daniel nodded. Yes, and from what everything shows, the Ashborn don't forgive. The room grew quiet. Officers exchanged worried glances. The tension in the air felt heavy, like something closing in around them. Daniel stepped back and looked at the entire hall. We need a plan, he said firmly. Over the next hours, Daniel met with strategic commanders, scientists, and fleet leaders. They tried to understand the Ashborn through the scattered recordings and early encounters. The more data they gathered, the more the fear grew. The Ashborn were not simply strong. They changed their bodies within minutes of seeing new weapons. If someone fired plasma at them, they formed resistant skin. If someone used missiles, they grew armor plates. If someone used shields, they produced claws that cut through energy fields like paper. They were not just alive, they were engineered for domination. But humanity had something the Ashborn had never encountered before. Humans were unpredictable. Humans invented new strategies quickly. Humans used creativity under pressure. Humans changed their methods in every battle. While other species followed strict patterns, humans broke patterns. That made them difficult to control. Daniel thought about this carefully. The Ashborn adapted fast, but humanity's creativity might give them a chance. Meanwhile, the Ashborn Queen Intelligence studied humans from afar. She saw the way humans built ships and defended their borders. She saw how humans helped weaker species and opened their doors to refugees. She sensed something unusual in their minds. Humanity had a balance of aggression and compassion. The Queen had seen aggression before, but compassion was something she did not understand. She whispered to her children from within her chamber. Study them. Learn them. They must be erased before they threaten the pattern. As the Ashborn attacks increased, millions of aliens fled their homes. Some begged the Vorun for protection. But the Vorun closed their borders. Some asked other empires for safety. But fear made those empires turn away. Only one group opened their arms. Humans. Daniel watched the refugee numbers rise and rise. Some officers argued that helping aliens during a crisis was too risky. Others said humanity needed to protect itself first. But Daniel disagreed. If we abandon them, he said, we prove to the Ashborn that fear can control us. And we lose the trust of every species in the galaxy. Alex supported him. Helping them gives us allies. And allies give us information. The Ashborn killed many of their people. Those survivors know how the creatures move, Laura added softly. And it's the right thing to do. Soon, human ships traveled across the border systems, picking up refugees, carrying supplies, and escorting civilians. Many of the rescued aliens looked confused. They did not expect humans to be so generous. Some expected humans to turn them away, just like the other empires had done. But every human captain said the same thing. You're safe here. The galaxy noticed. Some species admired humanity. Others feared them even more. Because compassion during fear looks like strange strength. The Ashborn Queen also noticed. Her thoughts drifted through her children. Humans show mercy. Mercy is weakness, but their weakness is dangerous. They cannot be allowed to grow. But even as she watched them with hatred, she studied them with interest. Humans built machines that adapted. Humans invented weapons that shifted focus. Humans made decisions without predictable logic. The Queen realized something unexpected. Humans were adaptable in ways even the Ashborn struggled to match. Daniel continued to work day and night. He formed an emergency alliance with the refugee groups. He gathered engineers, scientists, soldiers, and pilots. He asked Alex and Laura to join his task group, knowing their experience made them valuable. One day, Daniel gathered his team in a large briefing room. A soft hologram of an Ashborn creature floated in the center. "We need to stop thinking about them as simple enemies," Daniel said. "They are a living puzzle. We need to learn how to break their pattern." An engineer spoke up. "But sir, every time we shoot them with something they change. Then we stop using one method." Daniel looked around the room. "We use everything. Mix kinetic with energy. Mix heat with freezing. Mix signal noise with chemicals. Keep changing before they can copy us." Alex nodded slowly. "If we become unpredictable enough, they will have trouble adapting." Laura added, "And if they study us too closely, maybe they will make mistakes." Daniel smiled faintly. Exactly. Weeks passed. As the first real battles approached, humanity prepared in a way no other species could. Workshops stayed busy all night. Engineers built strange new devices. Scientists experimented with weapon patterns the Ashborn had never seen. Every idea was tested, no matter how strange it sounded. The galaxy watched with disbelief. Some species whispered that humans were desperate. Others whispered that humans were becoming something dangerous. But the Ashborn kept moving forward, driven by the Queen's hunger. Then came the attack on the Soul Frontier. It began with dark shapes appearing near the outer planets. Ships that looked like living shadows. Claws that glowed with pale energy. A wave of creatures that moved in silent formation. Human scouts saw them and retreated quickly. The message spread through command centers. "The Ashborn are here." Daniel stood on the bridge of his flagship, preparing the defense lines. Alex was at the advisory station beside him. Laura monitored the sensor screens, ready to give information as fast as possible. Daniel looked at his crew. "Remember this. They expect us to break. They expect us to run. But humanity does not bend." Alex felt a shiver but nodded. Laura breathed slowly, trying to stay calm. Human ships formed long defensive lines. Refugee ships hid behind them. Weapons charged. Engines hummed. Everyone felt the weight of the moment. Then the Ashborn moved. They came in fast, changing shape as they approached, adapting even before the first shot. But humans fired not one weapon type, but 10. Each ship used different energy levels. Each cannon shifted frequencies. Each missile released random countercodes. The Ashborn staggered. They did not understand the chaos of human strategy. Daniel pointed forward. "Keep changing. Don't repeat anything." Laura called out. Multiple Ashborn signals breaking formation. They're confused. Alex watched the battle unfold. He realized something important. They're learning. But they're learning slower than we're changing. Daniel smiled for the first time since the crisis began. "Good. Let's push them back." For hours, the battle continued. Humans lost ships, but the Ashborn lost more. Humans suffered injuries, but the Ashborn suffered confusion. Every time the Ashborn adapted, humans changed the pattern again. It was like a game where one side followed rules, and the other side refused to play by any. At last, the Ashborn retreated, pulled back by the Queen's command. Daniel watched the shadows disappear from the sensor screen. He closed his eyes with relief. "We can fight them," he whispered. "We can actually fight them." Alex and Laura exchanged hopeful glances, but far away, the Ashborn Queen whispered with anger. Humans, anomaly, unpredictable, dangerous. She had underestimated them, and now she knew the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was her greatest threat. The war had truly begun. And the galaxy would soon learn that humanity did not rise under peace. They rose under pressure. The first major victory against the Ashborn spread across human space like a bright spark in the dark. People finally felt a small sense of hope. For the first time since the awakening, the galaxy saw the Ashborn pull back. Many species could not believe that humans, a race younger than most others, had forced the ancient creatures to retreat. But Daniel knew the truth. The battle had only been the beginning. The Ashborn queen would not stay quiet after a defeat. She would adapt. She would grow stronger. And she would return with something far worse. Inside the main human command center, Daniel walked through long halls filled with tired soldiers, engineers, and medical workers. Everyone looked exhausted but determined. They knew the Ashborn would attack again. They knew the next fight would be harder. Daniel stopped near a screen showing a map of the outer systems. Red marks moved like slow poison toward the human borders. Blue marks, human fleets, shifted to prepare. Alex and Laura stood beside the large display. They had barely slept since the last battle. Alex studied every detail of Ashborn movement, hoping to predict their next target. Laura examined signals the Ashborn left behind, trying to understand their communication. Daniel joined them. "What have you found?" Laura pressed a key, showing a cluster of unusual signals from deep space. These pulses started after the Ashborn retreated. They're not like normal Ashborn signals. They're too large, too organized. Alex added, "We think the Queen is gathering the largest group of Ashborn seen so far. Something big is coming." Daniel stared at the map, feeling the weight grow heavier on his shoulders. "How long until they reach us?" "Maybe a month," Alex said quietly. "Maybe less," Daniel nodded. "Then we don't have much time." He stepped away, already planning. Across the galaxy, the Ashborn Queen sat in her dark chamber inside a massive living hive ship. Pale energy pulsed through the walls, feeding her thoughts into her children. She tasted the memory of the last battle. She felt the confusion and fear her creatures experienced. She whispered to herself, "Humans. They learn. They change. They must be crushed before they spread further. Sane. Seventh. But even as she planned destruction, she studied human behavior. She observed how humans defended refugees, how they built alliances, how they helped others without expecting anything in return. She did not understand compassion. She only understood strength, and she believed compassion was simply another form of danger. She ordered her children to grow new armor, new weapons, new minds. Her voice echoed through the hive. "We attack their heart. We break their spirit." Her target was clear: Earth. But Daniel and his commanders had already guessed the same. If the Ashborn wanted to crush humanity, they would aim for the Terran core. Alex and Laura both came to the same conclusion. "We have to stop them before they reach Earth," Laura said. "Yes," Daniel agreed. "But we need more than fleets. We need something new." Over the next weeks, humans worked with the refugee species to build something greater than any single race could create. Engineers from many worlds joined together. They mixed their technologies into one powerful design. Human creativity merged with alien science. The result was a new type of ship called a breaker-class vessel. It was made for constant change. Its weapons shifted type every second. Its shields bent like liquid. Its engines jumped unpredictably. It was chaos shaped into metal. Alex and Laura stood inside the first completed breaker ship, named the Horizon Wave. They examined the glowing panels and the strange engine core that pulsed with mixed energy. Laura smiled a little, amazed. "It looks alive," Alex nodded. "It's designed to confuse the Ashborn. They won't understand it." Daniel joined them, looking proud but serious. "This ship will lead the defense line. You both will be on it." Alex raised his eyebrows. "We're serving on the prototype?" Daniel nodded. No one understands the Ashborn better than you two. And no one else adapts faster. Laura felt both nervous and honored. We won't let you down. Daniel rested a hand on the console. This ship may decide our future. As the Horizon Wave prepared for launch, scouts arrived with frightening news. The Ashborn were moving faster than expected. Their numbers were larger than any prediction. Entire fleets of living warships, shaped like shadows and bone, flew toward the human core. The alarm spread across every colony. The Ashborn were coming. Daniel called a final meeting of all fleet leaders. The room filled with holograms of commanders from every human region, as well as leaders from several refugee species who had chosen to fight beside humans. Daniel spoke clearly, without raising his voice. This is the largest threat the galaxy has ever faced. They want to erase us. Not conquer us. Erase us. But we have something they do not understand. A refugee leader asked softly. And what is that? Daniel looked at everyone. We choose hope even when we're afraid. We help others even when we're hurt. We fight not for power, but for life. That is why the Ashborn fear us. No one argued. Everyone understood. Soon, fleets moved into formation. The Horizon Wave took its place at the front. Alex sat at a command station on the bridge. Laura monitored the shifting patterns of the ship's adaptive systems. Daniel commanded the entire defense grid from the flagship near the core. Then, space darkened. The Ashborn arrived. They came in waves that blotted out the stars, with bodies like armored nightmares and engines that growled with unnatural energy. Their hive ships were larger than cities, glowing with deadly light. The Ashborn Queen's voice echoed through the comm channels in a cold whisper. Humans, prepare for extinction. Laura shivered. She's speaking to all of us. Alex tightened his grip on the controls. Then let's show her why she should be afraid. Human ships opened fire first, hitting the Ashborn lines with unpredictable pulses. Energy changed color. Weapons shifted frequency. Missiles twisted mid-flight. The Ashborn staggered again, caught off guard, but the Queen had learned. She had sent new Ashborn forms with stronger minds. They adapted faster. They changed shape while in motion. Their claws grew longer, cutting through shields. Their armor hardened when hit. The battle became brutal. Ships exploded. Bright flashes filled the darkness. Human pilots screamed orders. Refugee allies fired desperately. The Ashborn broke lines and swarmed forward. Inside the Horizon Wave, Alex felt the ship shudder as Ashborn claws scraped its hull. Laura shouted, "They're evolving faster than expected." Alex responded, "Then we change faster." He activated the ship's core, pushing the breaker systems to their limit. The Horizon Wave's weapons shifted again and again, firing unpredictable bursts. The Ashborn around them began to fall back, unable to understand the constant change. But then everything changed when the Queen herself entered the battlefield. Her hive ship moved slowly, like a dark moon. Its presence made nearby Ashborn more powerful. Their bodies glowed brighter. Their claws cut deeper. Daniel watched from his flagship. We need to disable the Queen. If she stays on the field, they won't break. But the Queen's hive ship was too heavily protected. Normal weapons would not reach her. Laura looked at Alex. The Horizon Wave might be able to get close. Alex understood what she meant. The breaker ship could slip between Ashborn lines because the creatures could not predict its pattern. Daniel agreed. Alex? Laura? You two will lead the strike. Cut through their lines. Reach the Queen. Disable her hive. Alex inhaled slowly. We'll try. The Horizon Wave surged forward, weaving between Ashborn clusters. Its adaptive systems changed speed randomly. Its hull bent its shape slightly to confuse Ashborn senses. The creatures struck at it again and again, but the ship slipped away every time. Laura monitored the path. We're getting close. The hive ship grew larger in the screen. Its surface crawled with living armor and glowing veins. The Queen's voice echoed again. You will fail. Humans. Alex narrowed his eyes. Not today. The horizon wave reached the hive's defenses. Ashborn guardians attacked from all sides, their bodies shaped like spears and blades. The horizon wave fired waves of chaotic energy, hitting multiple targets at once. But the hive's shield was strong, too strong for normal attacks. Laura suddenly pointed at a reading. Alex. The hive shield shifts every time the queen sends a command. If we strike when her signal peaks, the shield will weaken. Alex nodded instantly. Then time it. The horizon wave dodged incoming strikes. Laura watched the queen's signal pulse. She waited for the strongest peak. The moment it appeared, she shouted, "Now!" Alex fired everything. The ship launched a bright, chaotic burst, mixed with dozens of energy types. It slammed against the hive shield. A crack appeared. Laura gasped. "It's working." The queen felt the blow. Her voice turned sharp with rage. "Humans, stop." Alex fired again. The crack spread further. The hive ship shuddered. Ashborn around it screamed. Daniel saw the crack from his flagship and immediately ordered a full fleet strike. Human and refugee ships turned their weapons toward the damaged hive and fired. The shield broke. The queen screamed in pain and shock. Alex smiled despite the danger. "We actually did it." Laura's eyes filled with relief and fear. But she's not done yet. The hive's interior pulsed with violent light. The queen was trying to regenerate. If she restored herself, the Ashborn would rise again stronger than ever. Daniel shouted through the comm, "Alex, finish it." Alex set the horizon wave's core to overload a focused energy beam. Laura stabilized the targeting. The ship shook violently as Ashborn tried to stop them. Alex whispered, "For everyone they hurt." Laura whispered, "For everyone they scared." They fired. The beam tore through the hive ship's core. The queen's voice echoed across space, breaking apart like shattered glass. Her hive collapsed inward. The Ashborn around her froze, confused, leaderless. Then they began to retreat. Slowly at first, then faster, until they disappeared into deep space. The battle was over. Human fleet stood damaged but alive. Refugee ships cheered. Daniel leaned against a console, feeling years of stress fall from his shoulders. Alex and Laura looked at each other, tired but victorious. Humanity had done the impossible. They did not win through strength alone. They won because they changed when others could not. They adapted when others froze, and they stood together when the galaxy needed them most. In the following weeks, the galaxy slowly recovered. Thousands of species thanked humans for saving them. Even the suspicious Vorun began to see humanity differently. Daniel spoke to the council. "We do not ask for reward, we only ask for peace." And for the first time in a long time, peace seemed possible. The Ashborn were not gone forever. Some still remained scattered across space. But their queen was gone. Their strength was broken. And they now feared the one species they had hoped to destroy. Because the Ashborn learned one final lesson. Humans were the deadliest creatures in the galaxy, not because they were strongest, but because they never stopped fighting for hope. And hope was something no enemy could adapt against.